This is Almost Beach Class Interviews. I'm Gil, and I dig the creative process. Today, my guest is,
I'm Royce. I'm from Feral Moon.
and then maybe you could say,
I
they
play bass. All right, let's do it again.
Today, my guest is.
Hey, I'm Royce. I'm from Feral Moon, and I play bass and a little bit of guitar.
Curious, what is your advice for aspiring artists?
So, I've been listening to your podcast. I've been thinking about it. All these people have all these very varied answers, and I think I like the Hannah Wyatt answer, and I also like the Wes Jones answer. But the Royce answer is kind of like it's golden mean. I really feel like to an aspiring artist, you should definitely do what you love and have fun with it and become good at it. Like Brad said the same thing from Dryland, like now's the time for you to discover that so you can do it later, like on command and easily reproduced, I should say. But for me, it's if you're not having fun, if you're not loving it, if you're not enjoying it, even when it's hard, because I don't mean fun all the time. I just mean if you enjoy it, you should continue to enjoy it and you should relish that enjoyment at every moment. So at everything that you do, whether it be easy or hard in your musical career or your aspirations as an artist through whatever medium, should have a nugget of joy or pleasure that you're working towards or that it's built upon. And that's what I'd go with.
I like that the last part of what you said with the build upon it, because for me, I feel like trying something new, you get like this dopamine rush from like, oh, this is new, it's exciting, so many possibilities.
Yeah.
But when you commit to something, I feel like that it doesn't maybe for me sometimes it does dwindle, but it gets more and more complex and it becomes more of a serotonin thing than a dopamine thing.
Right.
How do you stay enthusiastic to something that truly brings you joy?
I'd have to say that
Through the tedium, I guess.
through the tedium, yeah, like there's rote, there is practice, there is chore in doing things that you love and becoming competent either within a troupe or within like your own parameters that you have to go through. You have to go through these different echelons of what you want, and your expectation can be metered or tamped by like your ability to commit to the certain chore that it takes to get there. But when you look at it from the outside, it's all encapsulated in this thing of what you want to do. So like when I'm in the heat of it and I'm playing a song that I really don't enjoy, or it's a new technique that I'm learning, or I'm playing a show with people I don't really enjoy, or I'm doing, I'm not very social, go out to like, you have to do the networking thing. It's all still part of the one thing. This will continue to allow me to enjoy myself.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm still able to play music because of all these tribulations that I have to go through.
So I feel like I heard two things there. One was that that you remind yourself of where that nugget of joy is, regardless of what situation you're in. And then I feel like that first part you were talking about taking your goal and then being realistic with what your capacity is to achieve that goal incrementally.
Yeah, definitely.
That's not fun. Like
no, but you're still enjoying yourself. Like that's the point. Like I don't know. It's hard to describe it, but if your goal is to play music and you're happy playing music, you you have allowances of discomfort. You know what I mean? On the road.
Can you tell me about what allowances mean?
Um, I really can't slap bass to save my life. But one of these days, if I want to learn technique, I'd have to sit down and practice it for hours and hours and hours. And it would be a trial. It'd be a tribulation. It'd be an allowance of discomfort. But it's
Mm,
doing something that I love. It's still towards the end goal of loving
s-
the music, you know?
that makes sense to me.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so you're putting yourself in an uncomfortable place, but in a controlled way that you're not gonna let the discomforts push you away from your goal, but to push you closer towards your goal.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, but to
Oh
practice
god, I
it
hope so.
sounds very it sounds difficult though.
Yeah.
But I think that the dirty word I don't want to say is discipline, and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
like that sounds like you've figured out how to make discipline work for you.
Right, right.
And I would like to learn further about that and be able to do that for myself, especially juggling multiple bands.
Right, right. So, yeah, I've played I'm from California originally, and when I moved here, I started this stoner metal band called
Where
Slothmonger,
where are you from in this
California.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm all over. My
Okay,
my
I'm from San
father
Francisco.
San Francisco? Okay, yeah, I was born in Riverside,
Cool.
but the
East Bay? No, that's
no,
south.
no, that's, Inland Empire.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you go to,
Oh,
like the desert
Riverside.
yeah, Riverside,
We're talking
Indio, you know, like
Southern California.
Southeast, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
Southern
cool.
California. But my family moved all over the place. My father worked for the prison system, so wherever there was a prison, we lived there. So we lived like in like Central Valley. I lived in Santa Cruz for 5 years. I was in
I love Santa
Monterey and
Cruz.
Salinas. Yeah, it was great.
Cool.
But yeah, I moved here and started metal bands and like the multiple journeys. I started a southern rock band and participated in a southern rock band. I'm currently in Full Color Dream and play bass in that one. And I play Feral Moon, which is like a quasi alt metal stoner metal band.
I
It's
think
weird.
both of those projects are very cool because they're both very unique.
Yeah, yeah.
But I cut you off a second ago. You
What
were
was I
talking about
saying?
a band that you first created or joined when you
Oh
came
yeah.
to Bellingham.
Oh, it's the Slothmonger. Do you
Slothmonger.
like that? It started here in the makeshift space number 9.
What kind of genre is Slothmonger?
It is
Is it sludgy and
It's
slow?
sludgy and slow, but the unique thing is that say I come from a death metal background. I really enjoy brutal, fast, high tempo, like bone crushing, knuckle dragging riffs, like Neanderthal fights, like stuff like that in the pit. And I wanted to write songs like that. And my buddy Ty Fast wanted to write super sludgy, slow. So we mixed those together and we got a keyboard player and it was
Ooh.
crazy.
I heard that Black Sabbath has it might be Black Sabbath or it might be a different classic rock heavy metal band. I think it's but it's either Black Sabbath or Deep Purple. I'm pretty sure it's Black Sabbath that would play. They had a keyboard and they would play behind a curtain because it wasn't metal at the time.
Oh, I have no idea. That's
I don't
crazy.
know.
It's like some Wizard of Oz stuff.
It's just a funny. Yeah, I don't know.
The man behind the curtain.
Oops, I just kicked some
I
shit.
think that's cool. Like honestly, when I first heard when my friend proposed, like he's like, "Yeah, I know this guy. He wants to be in the band. He's a great musician. Like, what does he play?" He's like guitar, bass. He doesn't want to do that. I'm like, what does he want to do? Well, he just started playing keyboard. And I'm like, okay, whatever, man. And then he showed up to practice, and now I'm just like, wow, this is amazing.
How'd you guys gel together when you just kind of had a can-do attitude and just rolled up to it?
Yeah, like if it to me, it sounded great. Like the thing that I'm probably gonna repeat in this interview is like it was fun. Like I had this preconceived notion of what I wanted, and just because I had broken this preconceived notion didn't deter the fun. Like the fun was still happening, the riffs were still good, the keyboard was excellent and tastefully done, and I'm just like, hey, you know what? Maybe keyboard in a stoner band is sick. Like it
Cool.
works for other things, and I'm sure it's happened before. It's just for us, it's new. So
So when you're like rolling with your creative
yeah.
process alongside other people's creative process, what are you holding on to? Like, where's the fun in it for you?
Uh, Sick riffs.
Sick
I'm a
riffs.
riffer. Like that's the thing for me is like there's this saying. I listen to these two guys talk. They do like this hardcore podcast, and one of the things they say is the best riffs are written by the moshers, the people in the crowd, right? So people who are beating ass and like fighting in the crowds, and like they go on stage, go on to make the best bands because they know what the people want in the pit because they were in the pit.
That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, so for me as a riffer, like I love standing in a crowd. I used to mosh. I'm too old. I'm in mosh retirement, folks. But like I'm the guy in the back, like dude,
Yeah,
they're like
yeah, yeah.
sick
That
riff, brother.
slow
Yeah, yeah,
nod for
yeah.
that heavy
And I'll look at someone, I'll look at them and be like, that's a sick riff, like
Hell
so for
yeah.
me, like as a mosher and a riffer, it's like when I hear something great, like that's what I want. It's like I want to motivate folk to enjoy themselves and like I want them to experience the music like
Mm.
I do, which is pure unadulterated joy. Like I love playing a sick riff, you know what I mean?
What are you looking to evoke from the audience that you enjoyed when you'd be in the pit and stuff like that?
Oh, man. So I guess like if I'm writing for Feral Moon, and it's my riff, I want people to make a stink face. I want them to
Okay.
be like, that sounds hard and like this might incite violence. Like consensual violence, mutual consensual
That's all
violence.
funny.
Yeah. Like, pits are hard to come by in Bellingham, I've noticed. Like I've been to a few shows. It's happening a lot in the upstart, like hardcore scene here in Bellingham.
So
But pits are rare.
I so as I was from San Francisco and to
Yeah,
school
yeah.
in LA, and there was like a surf punk scene, and
Mm.
the moshing was what I always thought moshing was, and it was really fun. Came to Bellingham, and there's like this primal dance where you're kind of like stomp and you
Yeah, yeah,
haymakers.
yeah. So
Um,
that's the traditional hardcore dance. So your introduction to that is here, but that's how
yeah.
it, like in hardcore and hardcore punk. So skanking, two stepping, and the
Oh,
kung
so
fu
I love
fighting.
ska, so I do
Yeah,
know
yeah,
about
yeah.
the
So you know
two
the skank,
step.
yeah, the two
Okay.
step. But
Could
like the kung fu fighting, it's like spin kicks and the kung fu fighting. That's all really traditional, like hardcore dancing.
could
And then there's push pits, and then there's
yeah,
slam
push pits.
dancing and push
That's
pits
what
and
I
slam
was
dancing.
familiar
Yeah,
with of
yeah,
where it would be like just packed kids, push, 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 try to climb
yeah.
on stage, jump off.
Stage dive, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's all. They're all part of the same family, but like for especially in the hardcore scene, you see a lot of like fighting in two steps and like the kung fu fighting. Like
So
everyone has their space.
I feel like like it's I think the way you said it was beautiful. Consensual violence. That it's like football. It's play, but
Yeah,
you might get hurt.
yeah. If
Um,
someone falls down, you pick them up.
yeah,
It's all
yeah,
in
that's
good spirit.
very
You
yeah.
know going in, there's a chance you're gonna break your nose or break someone else's nose, and you're gonna have a good time. Like yeah,
Dude, but how do you oh, I was about to say how do you know that it's playful, but like it is till it isn't, and then you stop.
yeah. I mean, if the band is called like you know if it's named after a famous war criminal or something,
Oh
like
my
or
god,
like,
yeah,
bands
yeah.
band so like there's this meme where it shows like a frog playing a banjo, and it's
Yeah.
like if the guitarist in the band looks like this, you're gonna die in the pit.
I've seen memes
Yeah,
like
so
that where it's like a Bill Nye the Science
yeah,
Guy, and
yeah.
it's like if the bass player looks like this,
Yeah,
get
so there are
ready.
2 flavors, right? So, like, the band's named the hardest thing ever, like, like Hatebreed or Kubla Khan or God's Hate, and then, like, if one of the members looks like he's a math teacher, you just know you're gonna die, like, that's just how it
Interesting.
goes.
So it's almost like that like political spectrums. It's like once they start to get radical in either way, you know that something kooky is gonna happen.
Yeah.
So as you got the heavy look or you got the super light look of
Yeah,
like, all
yeah.
right, we're gonna
I
see
went with the
something.
heavy look because, like, I don't know, it's like coming from a death metal background, that's more common in hardcore to have people look more, like streetwear, like civilian, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
pedestrian, or, they look like teachers, but, like, in death metal, it's like the long hair, tattoos, black shirts, band shirts, stuff like that.
I'd love to hear your like history of the evolution of the two step and also
Oh, the
of
evolution.
just yeah, and just like the death metal scene because I have a very basic understanding of the difference between
Yeah.
black metal and death metal.
It's so complicated, it might start a war. like depending on like
Okay, okay.
Russians and the Polish, depending like who made the first vodka. No, the Finnish, right? So
Uh,
there's like
who
this
made the
giant,
pierogi or some
yeah,
shit? They're like,
yeah,
what
like
the?
it's like yeah,
Yeah,
look, I
yeah.
could trace it back to my grandma. Yeah, but your grandma was married
Took
to
it
my
from my
uncle. Yeah,
grandma. What the
yeah.
hell? Yeah, it's
So
funny.
black metal traditionally, there's a real simplified way of finding it. Black metal is goblin, like the high pitched screaming. Isn't always the case, but this is usually the first step, right? And then death metal is usually guttural, really low.
And like death metal is more angry and black metal is more like sad, pain, theatrical.
Theatrical, yes, but not
Okay.
always.
Doesn't have to be sad.
It doesn't have to be sad. A lot
Okay.
of the earlier black metal things, bands and music, railed against the church and like they burned churches in Norway.
That mayhem, right?
Mayhem, yeah, like
Okay.
famous for murder and burning things.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
guess metal there's um
A vein of
violence in it.
aggression.
A
Yeah,
vein of
yeah. A
aggression.
vein of aggression that runs through all metal, no matter how domesticated it may be.
Okay, I think that's a beautiful segue to the two-step because I don't think ska, even ska punk, doesn't have that violent edge to it.
But it's like crossover, right? So like music that makes you move, I feel is crossover. There's a big resurgence in
Operation Ivy would be
Operation
one.
Ivy, big Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. So every year in
Hmm.
Boston, not every year I would say, but like they've been the Boss Tones have been responsible for a festival, and they invite hardcore bands because they played with these hardcore bands as a ska band. So like
Yeah.
the musical community in a lot of these places were so insular that they had to like play these shows together. And then you get the crossover. Then the crossover turns into networking. And then you invite the hardcore band to your ska show. And the ska band plays at the hardcore show. And they all come from like the same seed of like punk or rebellious music. So
Okay.
they adopt the same types of dancing or the same, like way of
That's
doing
cool.
things.
So is that where the two-step came from?
I'm sure. I don't know.
Cool.
That's totally that's neither here nor there.
I almost feel a tad embarrassed that I came to the Pacific Northwest, saw this dancing, and was like, "What the hell is
What the
that?"
hell?
Yeah, and then you're like, "No, that's what it is. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
that's what the genre does."
Yeah, I have to say I'm new to hardcore. Like I've only been listening to hardcore in my because I'm 35, right? So I've been listening to music for a long time. But hardcore is only the past like maybe 10 years. And even then it
Interesting.
wasn't very seriously. And in California, I was one of those like death metal elitists. I was like, there's only death metal. Anything less heavy is not good. I've thus shirked since then that ideology. I now love all types of music. You heard it here first. Royce loves music. But yeah, so hardcore kids, like I would see these hardcore kids doing like their spin kicks and their kung fu fighting and windmilling, and we'd like get real angry and we'd go like crowd kill them, right? We'd be like, no, that's not a real pit. Let's show you how pitting's done. And we'll like go push them down and they'd get up and like try to fight us. And it was ridiculous. But now it's just like, yeah, man, like that's their way of expressing themselves. They're having a good time. Just because I don't throw a punch or do a windmill kick doesn't mean that, you know, like that my moshing is, I don't know. There's a time and place for everything.
Creative expression, and you
Creative
just
expression.
kinda
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen, have you I don't think it's a venue anymore, but the ballroom, do you remember that one?
Yeah, yeah. I never got to go there or play there, but I was aware of it, and it was a DIY house
Yeah,
venue. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I think I maybe saw, like, 2 shows there, but I saw some very interpretive hardcore dancing that would almost be, like, rolling around on the ground, crawling like a zombie kinda
Nice. Like
thing.
people in the crowd or like band members?
No, people in the crowd.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I'm for it.
yeah, I don't know.
Some music makes you crawl, like
There you go, yeah,
some
yeah,
music,
yeah.
some
What would you do
music.
if you're playing a riff and someone
Oh,
goes
dude,
zombie mode and they're on the ground reaching for you?
I'd play even harder.
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah. You
Cool.
wanna hear an anecdote, a little
Dude, hell
story?
yeah.
All right, so, Feral Moon was playing we played at the Shakedown recently. It was the 19th. We played with the, Witch Ripper from Seattle, really good, like, stoner, doom, deathy, kinda heavy metal band. We played Monstrous, which is a local sci-fi metal band. They're kinda like a
Hmm,
concept band.
that sounds
Their
kinda cool.
shirt has, like, a raptor on it that's in space. It's pretty sick.
Okay.
But there's this lady that comes to the Shakedown every once in a while, and she wears, like, yoga pants and, like, a workout shirt, and she goes and does, like, Richard Simmons Tybo style dancing in the front
The frontman of Kiss?
For what? Richard Simmons? No, no, no. Richard Simmons is, I don't know, maybe this is a generational thing. Richard Simmons used to be is he still alive? Richard Simmons, for all of you out there over 30, Richard Simmons, he's a famous workout guy that used to, like, you'd buy his tapes.
Oh, the VHS tape. You got the
VHS,
little
yeah.
like scrunchies around your wrist and your head and shuffle, shuffle, clap.
But he was wild though, because he's like, there's so many parodies of him. If I showed you a picture of him, you'd be like, oh, I've seen that outfit before. He wore like really short shorts and like a basketball athletic shirt, and it was like a jersey or something, and they're like red and white striped, and he had a big like fro, like a reddish fro, and he was just like this really energetic person with like this personality that he sold, and it was infectious. Like, he took America by storm. People were working out like crazy.
And this lady from the Shakedown, or goes to the Shakedown.
She goes to the Shakedown.
She was.
I've only ever seen
Simmons
her
fan
at metal shows. Like, so she goes and she dances, and I'm on stage and I'm playing riffs, right? Like, I'm just doing my thing.
Cool.
And I look over and she's like doing her Taibo stuff, and in my mind I'm like, this is sick. Like, I was like, this is awesome. And like everyone's giving her weird looks because obviously she doesn't look like she should belong at a metal show. She's not wearing any article of clothing that's black. She doesn't have any tattoos. She looks like she should have been at a gym or something like that. And she just goes there to get her groove on. And I was really excited. In
principle, I feel like that's the most punk rock thing to do.
Oh yeah,
like, I'm gonna do me and just
counter culture, right? It's counter.
Kind of like we were talking about with if there's a super straight looking bass player like with a bow tie, you're like, oh no,
you're always gonna die.
There you go.
Oh, he's plugging into the SVT. I don't know. Yeah, it looks so it was great. So that's my anecdote about like someone crawling on the floor. Like, what would I do? Oh man, like I would be overjoyed if someone's in the crowd. Stop, like, period. If someone's in the crowd, I'm happy.
So I think your thought process of how is the audience going to respond to what I, as a audience member in a different time, would want, does that thought process, is that contagious to the bandmates that you work with and go, oh yeah, like, have that slow part and then go really heavy? Do you guys collaborate on that and flush those parts out in the same vein?
I would say those aha moments when like in a lot of the bands, especially Feral Moon, like we'll be writing a song, and a lot of the time we're writing for ourselves. Like, I want to say that first and foremost, I'm writing these songs for me. But then when we decide to play a show, we then have to go, oh, wait, if we're doing this for me or for us and we're playing a show, then it's also in a weird way for other people too. So how do we make it to where they can enjoy it the same way that I do? And sometimes you have to bridge that, because some things that I write are just not palatable, that aren't satisfying to the ear for other listeners. And that's why we temper each other. Like Sean, my guitar player, Sean O'Bringer, who's one of the other major writers in Feral Moon, he comes from a different background of music. And when we come together and write, he'll be like, that's just too harsh, man. And
just out of curiosity, where's he coming from?
He likes like heavy metal, classic metal, and he listens to a lot of like stoner rock and stuff. So like a Red Fang, The Sword, bands like that. Yeah. So like really he loves Dryland. Like Dryland is like an exemplar of that
mid-tempo.
Yeah, cool. Like still heavy but still riff heavy as well. He's also a shredder, so like he's good at writing riffs, but he's also a lead guitar player.
Gotcha.
So like when he comes and he writes like these really catchy, cool riffs, I'm like, this could be heavier, and I'll show him how. Or if I write something too heavy and he's like, look, this isn't a death metal band, I'm not gonna, expect anyone to like sit here for 5 minutes while there's like blast beats for 5.
So
like, okay.
I think that's a really cool just picture that you painted, that there's two people who have common stake in having a good time and making cool music. You and your bandmate having a common goal, but coming from different places, seems like an extremely applicable problem that you navigate really productively. And I was wondering, are there any principles that you're bringing forth that makes it good for both of you guys in the band?
Yeah. Too? There are concessions on both sides, I would say, fairly often. So I enjoy playing with the band that I have right now. Like I enjoy every member of that band. We work well musically, and it's not just because like we're thinking on the same wavelength and we're writing the same exact riffs every time. It's because we want it to work. We have fun when it works, and we love when it comes together. Even if that means that if he's writing a song and I'm like, I don't like that, that doesn't mean it's not a good song. It just means that it's not my flavor, but it's also a killer song. Like it can be a well-written killer song and you don't have to like it, but I can still enjoy the song.
I don't think I'm having trouble understanding the. What did you mean by concessions when you
Oh,
first said that?
there's times when I'm just like, this is a sick riff, and homeboy will be like, this is too heavy for our band, and I'll be like, yeah, that's fair. And then sometimes he'll write a song, and I'll be like, look, this sounds like Oasis, and we're not like a '90s grunge band or a Britpop band. We're a metal band. Let's write a metal riff. So I'll take it and we'll turn it. And
So is
yeah.
it kind of that? Honestly, I don't think I know what the word concessions means in this
Concession
context.
is to concede, to give up.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
it's like productively compromising,
Yeah, it's compromising,
optimizing, and compromising.
optimize. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. It's
cool.
we try to maintain the efficacy of the song, like the integrity of the song is intact. Um, and there's times when we both light upon it and we have like this is it, this is the riff, and there's no concession because it just works and it's perfect,
Yeah,
and we are on that same wavelength.
that's
But
cool.
majority of the time, especially with such diverse backgrounds, and it's not just him and I that are writing. There's also Chad and Joe, the drummer, and Chad, the singer, and there's like all this stuff going on. But like there are concessions almost every single time we write because if we just wrote one song, it would just be an echo chamber. Like if I just wrote the song, it'd be an echo chamber. If Sean just wrote the songs, it'd be an echo chamber. So we all write the songs together, or if one of us has the lead, um, then we agree that this is the song, and the concessions we have to make this song good is good for the song.
I see the proof in the pudding because
Delicious
there's
pudding.
this there's what's that song called? It's on Spotify,
Yeah,
and
we
it's
only
like
got three of them. Snake Cult. Yeah, that's
Snake
the
Cult.
one.
Dude, that one gives like the song starts off kind of almost alternative 90s
Yeah,
Deftones metal where it's got like a little hushed kind of voice
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
and
Oh
then it's
yeah,
got
Chad's doing his
these
thing. Yeah,
metal punches, and
yeah.
then I'm sure you've heard this a million times, a Chris Cornell chorus.
Oh
That's
yeah. Oh yeah. Keep
that's
giving it.
dude, that is crazy.
So
That's
that's Chad
crazy.
doing his thing. So Chad's a southern rock singer and a big fan of like that style of music. He has a great,
Amazing vocalist.
crazy voice.
Nuts.
And like when I first met him, it's because I was looking for bands, and it was a band that I fell into that I began to love, and it was called Vindovi, and it was a southern rock band.
Cool.
So I came here looking for metal. I started the Slothmonger metal band, and at the same time, I was like, I'm still hungry. I want to play. I want to play. So I joined Vindovi, and we made this thing, and that was the successful one out of the two.
Hmm.
That went on for a good couple years. We did a slew of shows, and then before Feral Moon, like we were Vindovi pretty much. But yeah, that song is really interesting. I'll tell you, this is like the behind the scenes. Like if we ever get
Hell yeah.
famous, you can sell this interview.
Dude, you're
I
already
was
famous
there.
to me, man,
I
dude.
was
I
there.
love
I
it.
talked to Royce, and I'll be like, I told Gil the inside scoop. So the scoop is, I wrote that song from like start to finish, with the exception of the solo and the drums, right? Like, but I wrote like the bones of that song, and I wrote it as a throwaway song. I was like, this is the song that, look, we just need to fill space on like a potential LP or EP. And like, this is a fun little thing I'm doing. It's not really my style of music. And then we wrote it, came together, and time after time after time, people are like, what's that one about the snake? And I'm like, which one? They're like, the Snake Cult one. I'm like, yeah. They're like, that's the banger. That's the radio hit. That's the single. And I
When
was like,
you
oh,
when you
God.
wrote it, do you mean lyrics or bass line or?
Not the lyrics, but like the song itself. So like the music.
So why
I
why
composed.
you
I
composed it?
composed.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes. Why do you think that the one that in your words a throwaway album filler?
yeah.
Why was that one? Why did the magic pop out there?
It's the curse. It's the curse. I've talked to so many people about this and other musicians about their throwaway songs because I'm genuinely curious myself. Like I've asked the same question you just asked me to other people, and I say to them like, "Yo, what's the song that you think is the throwaway?" And they always name their most popular song. And I'm like, "Why?
I heard
How
the
is
Neil Diamond with Sweet Caroline. They said, "Nice
yeah,
try, buddy. You need one more if you want this a record to get recorded." And he says,
no.
"Okay, give me 5 minutes."
Yeah,
Goes out to the
it's that
parking
one.
lot, writes it on his hood of his
Oh
car,
god.
back in.
And sometimes honestly, it's just the way it is. I couldn't give you a logical, reasonable answer to why those songs pop, why they're magic, but it's grown on me. It's grown on me.
I think that has undeniably has
Yeah.
the it factor where it's just like
That
yeah, it's
makes
a
me both
groove.
happy and very distressed.
Why distressed?
Because man, there's one other. So Woad Fate, I also wrote that one.
Okay.
That's on our Spotify too. That's the first one we recorded. That's my baby.
Okay.
That's the one I like babied, and the riff that I've had for like I've been working on, and the motif for years. And people say like, yeah, it's a good song, but Snake Cult. I'm like, no, the Snake Cult. It's
I
the
get you.
throwaway.
So
Yeah.
it's like each project has the specialness, it's it, but then you have another one.
Right. The one that I put the most effort into was definitely the one that people talk about the least. And the one that I thought was the throwaway song that was just going to be like, between the bangers on an album. It's going to be good. I feel all of our songs are good. But like there are some that I like better than others, and some of them are just written better.
This feels so weird to bring up, but
What's
I
up?
recently was speaking to someone who uses tarot
Ah,
professionally. I don't want to say a psychic because they didn't describe themselves as a psychic.
right.
And this is Jordan from the Stone Moon. And
Ah.
if Jordan's watching, hey Jordan,
Jordan.
you're
How's
awesome.
it going?
And if you haven't checked out the Stone Moon, it's an awesome
Yeah.
place. And theme fits with Feral Moon.
Feral Moon. We're heavily inspired by the tarot.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I see those
Our artwork.
the knights and the snakes and shit.
Yeah.
That's cool. But where the conversation went with Jordan was that we were talking about the feeling that goes into something that you can see it like after, like you can feel that metaphysical feeling that if it was a really seamless I'm projecting onto this situation, but if it was like a seamless writing process of and it's just this one go through
Right.
that carries, and if it's a tedious, no, it has to be perfect, that also carries.
I think you're right. Honestly,
Okay.
yeah. There's definite if I had to attempt a rationale, I would say I did put more work into one than the other. And the time, right? We consider time time is so valuable, like what we have of it. So when like Woad Fate, for example, took a long time for me to write this song, and I was so inspired. And when I wrote it, we recorded it, and it was such a tribulation to like shape it into the way that I wanted it to be. And then like you said, Snake Cult, one and done.
Yeah.
And it's the banger. And like I'm definitely more attached, I think, because of the time spent on Woad Fate. Is it arguably a better song? Perhaps not. I think Snake Cult, like it's polled, I should say. It's polled as being the most popular song.
I did this
So
might be
it's a good
kind of
song.
breaking the fourth wall a little bit just to the human experience, but what do you think, like what primed you, if you can even know, what primed you to write that one go through? Was it not having attachment to how it turned out, or
Um, you're gonna love this answer.
I'm ready?
It was a sick riff.
It was a sick riff. Royce is just having
I was
fun
sitting
once
there-
again.
Yeah, so the first thing I wrote for that song was the chorus.
Dude, I love
And
that the
it's
guitar
bouncy.
and bass,
Yeah.
they match each other,
Yeah,
and that
it's like- Exactly. So it's like
Tight.
this weird triplet. It's like ding 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 ding, right? So I
and it's
started playing
playful
that.
with the vocals. They don't
Yeah.
compete.
Oh,
Like
it's so good.
I've probably shown that song to embarrassing. It was like the snake one.
It's a good song.
Yeah,
But
I know. But then I blank on the name after I've shown it to fucking people. But the people will be like, they'll have that like stank face from the song as a whole, but then the chorus specifically gets like a
course.
face melting response.
It's so groovy and
then
heavy.
The riff is like I could see their eyes light up that they didn't expect it, and it was
Yeah.
like a pleasant little playful response or something.
That's what inspired me is like I was sitting there and I was just goofing on the E string because it's all in we play in D standard, so D G C F A D, but to translate it's a whole step down, I think it is. So if you're an E standard, I was playing on the E string and I was just like doon da doon da doon da doon da doon da doon doon da doon. I'm like, oh, this is just fun to play. So I was like, well, what do we do? Add more notes, and that's just what inspired it. That was just what it
Dude,
was.
that makes me think of like a band like Korn
Yeah,
that
yeah.
even though that they
They get a bad rap.
they do get a bad
Couple
rap.
tracks.
I
They
know,
got a couple tracks.
yeah, I know people see them as like a new metal band, which they did inspire, and I dig it, the new metal, whatever. Um, but I see them as like a metal band that's playing through the language of funk. That they're
Oh
like
yeah,
being all sparse, and there might be a bass line that's just two notes, and it's very captivating and
yeah, yeah.
energizing.
It's the necessary. Like a lot of the things that I write, depending on the project, but I like to write from a point of necessity. It's like Chekhov's gun. So in movies, um,
Yes,
like you have
yes.
a Chekhov's gun. Like, is it necessary? Is this advancing the plot? So when I write a bass part, I'm like, am I stepping on any toes? Am I taking Sean's spot? Am I doing something with Joe that's interesting for the listeners or just interesting for me? Am I in the way of the vocals? Am I taking the lyrics away? You know, like so like when I write these riffs, almost everything is purpose built in my mind to facilitate the song. The song, like I'm the envoy for the song.
I think for a dude whose focus is having fun, this sounds like
Too
some
much work.
analytical like superpower. No, dude,
It's hard,
seriously.
man.
That I think for being able to, because when I jam with buddies and like the more fun that I'm having, the more self-indulgent I might be. And
Right, right.
my rhythm guitar playing might get a little dense, and whoever's playing lead,
Mm,
that I think there's a self-awareness that's very admirable, that you're grooving, but also you're very conscious of
yeah.
how you're all fitting.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask you a
Yeah,
question
yeah,
now.
ask me
Look at
whatever.
me.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
the interviewer
All
now.
right.
So the thing is,
Let me sit on the comfy couch though.
so when you're yeah, let's switch. So when you're jamming with your friends, are you talking about in a band setting or are you just having fun? You're just jamming?
I'd say how it's been mostly is that I will jam with one friend at a
Yeah.
time, or I'm in like a band type setting, and I'm more of a passing through supplementary character that's
Right,
kind of
right.
there just to, and of course in those moments I'll just be
Right,
rhythm
right.
guitar and or just drums and just have fun and
Just
hang
have
out.
fun. So that kind of informs what I'm about to say is I think that when you're serving a jam is different than serving a band, like serving a song. So like
Okay.
when Sean, Chad, Joe and I get together and we write these songs, I think we all stop and say, is this a time for a sick solo or is it time for a cool groove? Like, does it serve the song? Does it further what we want the song to be? And
I
if I'm jamming, oh, I'm gonna have fun. I'm just gonna be like doo like doing
Well, I
crazy
really
stuff.
appreciate you putting that frame just out, because you're I think what I heard is that there's a heavy analytical process that's reflective, and it's not this responsive, I'm a master of jazz. I heard a
Yeah.
note and now I'm playing back to you. It's
Look at this
just a
scale.
human ass conversation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that really does like in some bands, that are like crazy talented and technical. Like we can talk about like Periphery, these like metal bands that are or like prog bands like Rush even or
Like
Dream Theater. Like
precision metal or whatever.
yeah, and like they're at such a level where their service to the song is to do these crazy things because that's the message that the song or the band is putting out.
Interesting.
And like for me, I would never like first of all I can't, but I would never be like sweeping on the bass just
So
in the middle of a song. You know what I mean? Like there's no point to it in the
well,
music that I'm currently writing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
With that comparison, that makes me think that in those kind of bands, they're all on the same page. They're focused on time signature and complexity and
Yeah.
the mixolydian whatever.
Yeah,
So
and that's their thing, right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but being the Feral Moon and Full Color Dream are both very eclectic, unique sounds. What's the eye of the hurricane for both of those? Like, what's the agreed upon? core?
I'm gonna start with Full Color Dream.
Hell yeah.
I love Full Color Dream. I love both bands. Full Color Dream is great. So Cullen, you've spoken to Cullen.
Yes.
If you've listened to this show, you'll know. Listen to this show, you'll find out.
Hell yeah.
Cullen's a great guy, and he's a great singer. He's a great writer, and so the locus for Full Color Dream is centered around this idea of they're identical. It's the same answer. It's serving the song. So like I'll come up with a riff, or Cullen will come up with a riff, or Ian will come up with a riff. And we have Gabe now from The Hobby, the singer and guitar and the
Oh, he's
writer
on
for
the
The Hobby.
kit. Yeah.
Gabe is playing drums for us now, and they're
He rocks
also an
too.
amazing writer,
Okay, cool.
like composer. And so when we write songs, it's self-serving and serving for the crowd. So like we want to write songs that we enjoy, that mean something to us, but then at the same time, when we give it to the crowd, we want them to be able to enjoy it too. We don't want to alienate our audience, which is everyone who isn't in the band. Otherwise, why would we play shows? And the same thing goes for Feral Moon. When we write these songs, the fixation is on definitely preservation of what makes us want to write the songs in the first place. Our love for the song, our love for creation, and then saying, hey, I created this and I love it so much. I want you to take a look at it too. Not only do I want you to look at it, I want you to be able to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So not only did I make it for myself, but I also took extra care to make sure that, if you're capable and able to, you also may be able to enjoy this.
So it's a very sweet and analytical sentiment that you're meeting people where they're at, and that can multiply what people are getting out of it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because why do you listen to music? Do you listen to music? I should ask. Some people don't. Do you listen to music?
I would say my relationship to music definitely changes over time.
Yeah.
And I recently have become a full album listener. And I used to
no skipping. It's like
funny enough, I got a CD. It's I think the album is called Something About the Weather. And it's Sam Shue's one of his solo recordings. Sam Shue from Washington.
Yeah. We played a show with Tim Meckling at the Karate
saw
Church.
you guys.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
Yeah,
that was a cool.
It was a great show.
It was a fun one. Yeah,
it was wild. It was Sam Shue.
It was interesting that it was a seated thing. I wanted to kick some chairs over and get up closer to you guys, but I really enjoyed it, and that was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sam's album, Something About the Weather, and it's acoustic, and each song kind of flows into the next, and I feel like I am not just in the groove of the song of like listening to it, but I can kind of get into a mood where that's kind of what I'm feeling for a little bit. So in short, yeah, I do. I listen to music, but
is it your mood that enjoys the music, or does the music make the mood?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Like, do you put it on in any mood and the music can make that mood then the thing?
I think that
makes sense.
I think to just take your question as face value, I think that it brings out feelings that are already there inside.
Yeah.
But they aren't at the forefront, and it kind of is like some Velcro to the sweater of my soul, and it'll pull a little bit of something.
It's a sick lyric. You need to write that down. Don't steal that from my boy Gil.
Hey, dude, you can use it. Hell yeah. Oh man. Yeah. What's your relationship to listening to music?
So I love music. It's also very dependent on mood. Like there are playlists that I have that will absolutely devastate me. Like I will put on the saddest music possible and sit there and just be like, this song didn't hurt me enough. I'm gonna put it on again. Like I'm gonna listen to this album and cry and be very upset. And
is that because you're already feeling that way, and 100%. You want to process those feelings?
I would say exercise. Like exercise a demon, you know what I mean? Like it gets it out, it manifests it. Because like the thing about music, like it helps manifest so many emotions. So like when I'm driving, I like listening to like death metal, and also like deserty kind of rock, or like big open things. Like Devachka is also really beautiful to listen to when you're driving. Like all these things help me focus. When you're very sad, like we look for artists that make us feel even sadder, so we can somehow have this in my mind, this manifestation of our sadness.
Dude, we're on the total same
Yeah, we
page.
can
Yeah.
see it, like, there it is, Jason Molina, I'm sad, It's like he says
That's
it right
funny.
there,
So I have an interesting counter argument, and I might not even believe in this counter argument wholeheartedly,
For
but
the sake of argument,
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
let's hear it,
So
yeah.
I find a lot of, I'd say beyond the commercial scope of metal, that there are some things that have extreme blast speeds where it might sonically resemble white noise to an untrained ear.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Is that is that something, at least what I've seen socially, um, it feels like people listen to that as a form of distraction on purpose to like take a certain amount of their bandwidth and fill it, so you can't have some worries, or you can't feel sad, that you're kind of taking a break from your feelings a little bit. Do you feel that way about like really heavy music?
Not about heavy music, but I think my relationship with heavy music is as a heavy music listener. So, like, when I hear a heavy band, if it's produced well enough, I can hear all the different parts just because I've listened to it my whole life. I know what to look for, and like if someone took away the bass line in one of the songs after the bass line, you'd be like, "Where's the
Yeah,
bass?"
yeah. I'd be like, well, what
Yeah.
this mix, like, is the cord plugged in right?
Right,
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
other times, like, you can listen to it prima facie, which is like face value, without knowing anything about it, and you're like, "That's the bass," like as like a one piece versus parts. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So I usually listen to music as pieces to a whole thing. So, like,
okay.
different parts, I listen for the bass, listen for the vocals, the thing. So about the heavy music, for me, I probably have this really strong bias. Like, I can really,
Yeah, it sounds like you're a
I
very
really
active
love it. Yeah,
listener, that you're
I love
you're not
metal.
putting it on in the background, that
Exactly. The
you're
more active, sometimes the better. There gets to a point where it's superfluous to me, where it's just like sounds silly, and I'm just like, all right, these guys are just like fucking doing it for the sake of soloing. Like, I don't need to hear this
I
solo.
actually think a little bit, Pantera, Dimebag Daryl, of where it's I'm a fan, though.
Oh,
I'm a fan.
he's a riffer.
But
He's got some of the best
there's
riffs
some
ever
parts
written.
where it's like, okay, that riff, there was no space
Yeah.
in there at
Yeah,
all,
yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Disclaimer: Pantera, terrible people, wonderful musicians. Um, but Dimebag Darrell, Rex Brown, Vinnie Paul, and even Philip Anselmo, as musicians and
I don't really
writers.
know the band well at all.
Oh, dude, some of their music is like,
I know that first album, or people argue
yeah,
first album, but Cowboys to Hell is what I'm talking about.
Cowboys of Hell. It's a great album. Vulgar Display of Power.
I know a couple songs off
Yeah.
that one.
Oh,
Cowboys to
if
Hell
you're
one.
into riffs, Dimebag has never failed as a riffman. Like, he can write a
Cool.
riff so good, and he did write riffs so well and so good that, like, his legacy in riff writing will go on forever. Even when they forget his name, you're gonna hear a riff, and you'll be like, some old head is gonna be like, back in my day, we called that a Dimebag. You know what I mean?
Dude,
Like,
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
inherently built in from like post and pre Dimebag. He's just such a riffer. What were we talking about?
Oh man, where were we? We were talking about the headspace,
Oh yeah,
the heavy music, or like how we kind
yeah.
of use that. Or yeah, I guess what function heavy music plays. Yeah.
Right. So I think I agree with the counter argument in principle. I think there are types of music, depending on the person listening, that are just kind of background music. I call
Okay.
it background, like white noise music. There are bands that I can put on that aren't interesting enough for me to want to listen, and that allows me to, like, work at home when I used to, like, work at home from on my
The way that
laptop.
you're painting this makes me think about like the hardcore barbershop, the hardcore tattoo parlor. There's already this buzzing of
Right.
trimmers and
Yeah.
tattoo guns that
Yeah.
they just want some drums along with
Just
it.
something, yeah, just something playing in the background, and you might hear something you enjoy, and I'm sure they put that on because they enjoy it. But, like, if you walked in and it was playing classical jazz or anything like that, if that's there, it's probably because someone liked it, or it helps them focus and do the thing that they need to do.
Yeah.
Like I was speaking earlier to about, like, Devotchka and, like, bands that I drive to, and it varies depending on my mood. Some bands I put on, like proggy bands that are so interesting, but I take it, instead of parts, I take it as one entire piece, and it's just this thing I'm listening to. It's this wall of sound. But likewise, I can also put that band on by myself where I really want to dig into it and I can take all the little parts.
Okay.
So it just depends on the mood and who's listening. But a lot of like busy work is done to music. I don't know anyone in my band or any of the bands that I know that doesn't do something to music.
Mm.
Either they're cooking or they're like putting on like some medium of art, like whether it be like a TV show for comfort in the background, not even
Yeah.
watching, but they know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like same thing with an album that's most beloved. You just put it on and continue doing the thing you're doing.
Dude, yeah, it's yeah, it's so funny. I find with like repetitive tasks
Yeah.
that I might put something on in the background at first, and then it slowly becomes that's more important than the original task I was
Yeah.
doing.
You got to
Uh,
choose more disinteresting music,
there we
more
go.
uninteresting.
Yeah.
You have to be more
Uh,
disinterested in the
well,
music.
I'm gonna focus on the album and give a full listen through to that Pantera one. Was it the
Yeah. Vulgar
Vulgar
display
Display of
of
Power?
power.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
cool. No wonder they're horrible people.
Oh yeah, no, they're terrible.
That album
They're
name alone,
oh, dude,
it's like,
I love
ugh.
the big caveman thing, right? So like to me, like the knuckle dragging caveman joke in like metal and hardcore, like Oonga Boonga, I want to punch someone. Like I love that. I love this pretense of communal violence and anger.
Oh, I'm sure you've heard that trope where it's like punks are no, it was like metalheads or punks are nice people who are acting hard or something, and then it's like hippies are hard people acting nice or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
butchered
I
that.
agree with the metalhead thing. Like most of the metalheads I know are some of the nicest, like cutest,
Yeah,
nice
yeah,
little folk. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, Pantera, racist, consummate racist, terrible racist,
yeah. There
and
we go.
amongst other things. So like, if you listen to Pantera, they got riffs. That's all I gotta say. They
It's
got riffs.
just la 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 for all the lyrics. Don't listen to that
I
shit.
mean, some of the like most of the lyrics, they did this in their private public life. So like the lyrics are mostly it's weird because they like Philip and Selma write about how like the plight of the white man and the black man struggling on a class thing versus a race thing. Like we're in this struggle together. And he'd write these songs, but then he also did like the Nazi salute at a concert. So
Oh, fuck that.
it's like which one are you? Like, which one is it, Phil?
One thing that I absolutely love is Lane Staley of Alice in
Alice in
Chains.
Chains, yeah.
They were abroad, and someone did some sort of Hail Hitler, whatever neo-Nazi thing, and he invited the dude on stage,
Beat his ass.
and then punched him in
Beat
the
his
face, and then
ass.
this guy like fell into the crowd, and
Yeah.
it was a whole like the. Yeah, it was a whole thing, and it risked the band's tour and stuff. But it was just an instantaneous like, fuck that dude. Like he's gonna be hateful.
I mean,
Get him out of
you
here.
play stupid games, you win stupid rewards. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You fuck around, you find out.
there we go. So, do you feel like the metal overall? I know it changes throughout time and place.
Yeah.
Is a relatively positive community that's pretty open and accepting in Bellingham.
I'd say in Bellingham, yeah. In Bellingham, it's still pretty exclusive, but
Really?
it's becoming exclusive, and I think that has to do with the way Bellingham is.
Okay.
So I mean, there's a lot of like trans identity and trans people who have that are like they're open and they're around.
The first guest that I had on this podcast
was Chad from Membrane.
Yeah,
The boy
and they're
Chad.
trans rights DB hardcore.
Yeah, Ellie is one of my favorite people.
I love
She's
Ellie
the singer. I met Ellie a couple years ago.
Dope photographer too.
Oh my god, she's photoed so many of my shows.
Yeah.
She's one of the homies. They're on tour. I think they just got back from.
They just
tour.
got back.
By the time this comes out, it's gonna be too late. But catch Membrane if you can. They're sick.
I think it's the perfect time. They're back in town.
Yeah, they're gonna catch them. Like the trans awareness and like the ability for the space to be carved into. I don't think that it was just like always open. I think that these people had to carve it and take it because historically, in my experience, anecdotally, I would say, and maybe not even historically, but the metal community has been the pretense of acceptance. like we want to accept people and we say we're going to accept people, but then it quickly turns into like a not in my backyard type of thing. Like, oh
Mm.
yeah, I love trans rights, but oh no, it's a trans person in a band. I don't know about that,
Well, I
man.
think that's the most hardcore thing ever,
Oh,
of
dude.
just going against the grain
Yeah.
of anything and just like,
It's
yeah,
the whole backbone on what like the rebellious nature of metal's built on
cool.
is, like to be a rebel. And what's more rebellious than, to be someone that's so marginalized fighting for your right to exist. I mean, that's
Yeah.
fucking metal.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
couldn't do it. Like, I've been handed life on a silver plate. Like, I'm a cis white male. I mean, I'm just doing
There's
my thing.
It's crazy that there's so many different planes of existence that most people never are even conscious of. And
Yeah.
then people who have different realities are facing things that are
Our
very
neighbors.
difficult.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
right next
yeah,
door to us.
yeah.
And I think going back to the question, like that's Bellingham and other pockets like Portland and Tacoma, like these hardcore scenes and metal scenes, even Seattle, like Filth is Eternal, they have trans members, and just like the awareness that they're trying to propagate, like it's undeniable. Like at a certain point, the music is so undeniable, you can't hate what you love. You know what
Dude,
I mean?
I love that, where it's it's like game's got to recognize game,
Game
that
recognizes game, dude.
at the end of the day, we're all just people
Yeah, I
just doing our fucking
just love some
thing,
music.
and we love heavy riffs,
Yeah.
so
There's a story. It's funny because, like, my family, I'm from California, but my father's family is from Houston. So they're from the deep south. They're from Texas.
interesting. Okay.
And I was talking, I visit family,
I
and
don't
one
know
of
anything about the South. My family's from the East
it's
Coast.
terrible.
Okay.
It's really cheap to live, though. So that's good. The food is good. But it's like, it's the South.
I like
So
barbecue.
yeah, they got good meat. They got brisket. Some of the best brisket you'll have in your life
Nice.
is like in an airport. Like every meat there is delicious. It's crazy.
I was at a Bojangles and a layover one time.
Was it good?
It was good. Yeah, I liked it. There were biscuits and gravy,
Oh,
so
biscuits and gravy.
I
That's
was into
sick.
that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, biscuits and
But
gravy.
you're saying that your family
They're from the
is
South,
from
and
the South.
I'd go visit my dad's side of the family out there, and like I'd hear these stories, and the thing that I've come like a little like takeaway is that like it's such a uniter. Music is such a uniter. Like you'd ask these people if they liked gay people or homosexuals, and they'd be like, "Oh, I hate them." I'm like, "Well, what do you think about what do you think about Queen? What do you think about Elton John?" And they're like, "I fucking love Elton John. I fucking love
Wow.
Queen." But I'm like, "Yeah, but they're gay, right? They're two gay men." And they'd be like, "It don't matter," Like they love,
Even on the small
they love it.
scale, where someone will say something that sounds very xenophobic to any group, and then it's like, well, what about Tony who lives down the street? It's like, oh, I love Tony.
I
He's
love
my
Tony.
neighbor. It's like,
Yeah.
so you're more of hating the unknown,
Right.
this group that you can project onto, and not really see individuals for who they are. Because when we do, most people are
Yeah.
just regular ass people and dope at something and regular everything else.
I have two quotes for you. I'm
Oh,
going to
yeah.
paraphrase,
Yeah.
but one of them's Mark Twain. So Mark Twain, paraphrasing, said the best cure for prejudice is travel.
Yeah.
So like you get out of your comfort zone, you meet people that you thought were scary or dangerous, or you go to places, blah, blah, blah. You rub up against it, you find out that they're great.
Yeah.
And then the other one is Rabindranath Tagore. Tagore is
I
a
don't know
very
who that
famous
is.
Indian poet and philosopher. I
Huh.
believe from like the 1914, like around 1914,
Interesting.
maybe before. He used to hang out with famous Irish poet Keats, Yeats, one of the two. I get them mixed
And
up.
that already is an example of your first point, that you got an
the
Irish
homeboy
and an
traveled.
Indian poet.
Yeah.
Those countries aren't next to each other.
No. And so Tagore said one thing, and this is a direct quote. He said in his book Stray Birds, it's an aphoristic poetry. You should check it out. It's really short. It's beautiful. It's called Stray Birds. He says, "Man is kind, men are cruel." So like you were saying,
Can you say it one more time?
man is kind, but men are cruel.
Oh, the herd mentality.
Exactly. So your friend Tony down the street, whether he be anything other that you disagree with, but if Tony was in a group of Tonys, you'd be like, "Oh, that whole group I hate."
I think,
But Tony's a nice guy.
that's why I picked the word xenophobic, because it's really just about like othering people, and that's and I think your quotes are beautiful cures to that. Or
they're cool. I'm just a.
well, I like your paraphrasing, and I think that it was yeah, and I think that that's, dude, going back to our conversation talking about ska, two-step, that this is our genres. So you can go reggae and punk. That's kind of how, you know, ska kind of happened, and there aren't that many commonalities. They're quite dissonant, and then to see that come together in a beautiful way, that there probably were some uncomfortable moments that brought people together. That's cool. I am curious about going over some of the cool things that you imparted. I think the first thing that we talked about was that you have fun.
Have fun.
Foremost and right in the front. And then one thing that I thought was really cool that you brought up was that this analytical optimization of the song is something that happens through interpersonal, I guess, empathy, to see the perspective through their eyes, and how they're gonna process and enjoy the creation. And I thought that was really cool. That's yeah, I really like that one. And then I feel like we touched upon one or two more that was really cool. Give me some good fun stories that I enjoyed.
I say so much sometimes that people in the same conversation will be like, "Hey, remember?" I'm like, "Nah, I don't. I just talk."
No. Yeah, and I guess that third point, if you're uncomfortable with anyone or anything, go travel. Go spend
shake
some
their
time
hand.
there.
Yeah, say hi to them.
Yeah.
Unless they're racists or bigots, then don't meet them on their ground. Have them meet them.
Let them experience you. Yeah. Dude. I don't know about, honestly, so touchy, but people are people. Love them all.
I love people. Yeah, people are great.
Yeah.
Like, without people, I wouldn't be here. So.
Oh, I remember the thing it was the old mirroring was about listening to albums and the headspace that goes into it. So I think to be conscious of listening to something as a creator and not just a listener, and see how that they jigsawed this through line that made it fruitful for everyone at the live shows and who's was making it together. So I think it's really cool.
Thanks. I try. Yeah. I'm doing my thing.
What are some upcoming shows that you guys got going on? Either Feral Moon, Full Color Dream.
Well, I think Full Color Dream, I think Cullen outlined that pretty well. We got I don't know if he maybe I haven't heard it because it's not out yet, but we got mini tours coming up in June, July, August. We're doing a few days out and about. It's all going to be posted. You'll find us on Instagram, and I have a Facebook. Nothing's posted on Facebook. Find us on Instagram. Full Color Dream Band, I think it is. Feral Moon. Right now, everyone's really busy. So the thing about music is it's a passion. It's definitely a passion project, but we want it to be our job. We love music. Everyone loves music in the band. But a lot of what we're trying to do is make the music work for us in a way. Like the dream is to wake up one day and be like, I'm going to play for an arena and I don't have to worry about my bills. I get to shred the bass for 5,000 or 50,000 people. So Feral Moon, we just did a show. We have another show coming up in Tacoma. I believe it's June 6th. Check our Instagram for that. It's Feral Moon Band.
Not Facebook, Instagram.
Not Facebook, yeah. Instagram is the way to go right now. We also have a TikTok. I guess that's the way too. It just got banned, right?
I don't know shit about TikTok.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I have Instagram, and that's tough enough for me to navigate. So
they add new buttons. I'm like, I don't recognize this.
Yeah. I feel there's an AI feature. Huh, yeah, never gonna click on that.
Yeah, it says ask it anything. Box. I'm like, could you not be here?
I know, yeah.
But yeah, Feral Moon, we got a couple singles. What we're doing right now, since we can't commit to a lot of shows, we're kind of have this show scarcity. We've played 4 shows last year. We played 1 show this year, and it's already April April, going to be May soon. So it goes to show that we just don't, we played it in January, but I consider that last year. And they're all events. Like we've only played, like we had our first show, we had a year reunion, like a year anniversary show, and everything else has been like reunion shows or backing a single or someone's birthday or something like that. So we're trying not to play too much, but we're recording singles and we're going to be putting them out.
Community oriented, that it's to monument something you guys have worked on together or coming together with the band itself. Or
the band's very young. Like in the scope of the bands I've been in, this is one that I've been in the least, and I feel like it's it's one of my favorites. Same thing with Full Color Dream. Like we haven't been together that long as a cohesive band. Like Cullen and I, you guys talked about it, but we met up. I was doing it as a favor. Like he needed someone in a pinch, and I was there, and it just turned out to be something that I really loved, and he enjoyed it too. So we decided to keep going.
Dude,
same thing with Feral Moon. It's like it's been a year and like 3 months now, and we're just doing singles right now and just enjoying everything about it. So hopefully you'll hear something about that. We got 2 recorded. We're just waiting on vocals. Chad is our singer. A different Chad. His name is Chad Bumford. And he is
the vocalist.
The vocalist. Yeah, he's one of the co-owners of the Blue Room. So he's very, very busy, and he's doing his best to like half run a venue, also work a full-time job, and also like deal with life like we're all dealing with. Dude, it's hard.
I think if I had to keep one thing front and center from this conversation, it's going to be remember what brings you joy and check in on that and make sure that you're following that little nugget where you
cultivate it, nurture it. You want it to grow,
I think that's beautiful, and to follow it incrementally. And when it gets tedious, just have that be part of your expectation to have your expectations in check, because it's for the fun of it. So
for the fun of it.
Hell yeah.
You heard it. You heard it here first. I love saying it, guys. You heard it here first. No, you've heard it everywhere.
Yeah.
Hey man, have you tried just being happy?
After we just misquoted like 20 people telling stories and be like, that's kind of what they were saying.
So Mark Twain, he was like, "Yo, man."
That's the word for word.
There is this Maya Angelou quote my mom has on her fridge. I go visit her. She lives in Maple Falls, and I love this quote. And I'm paraphrasing, but it's a beautiful quote, and it goes, "It's for the aspiring artist. This is good, you aspiring artists out there." The quote goes, paraphrased, "You can't run out of imagination. No, you can't run out of creativity.
I'm glad that you misquoted it just to keep the theme going.
Yeah. So the more you use of it, the more you have."
Use that more time.
So you can't run out of creativity. The more you use the creativity, the more you have.
Yeah, growing that nugget, dude.
Yeah. So that's perfect. Like cut the episode. That was great.
That's it.
We wrapped it up nice and tight. Put a bow on it. Thank you, Maya Angelou. You're so good. You're a poet.
Well, it's been a blast having you on, and it's been fun. And it's cool trading anecdotes. And I'm going to keep good vibes front and center and all the projects to come. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Gil. I appreciate you. I like what you're doing for the community and giving like spotlight to local artists, and also just being a badass person. Real cool.
Dude, thanks, man.
I bet if you were in the pit, you'd hurt somebody. I'd love that. I love that for you.
I got a ripped
oh no. Is it a meniscus?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, you're psychic.
Yeah,
Thanks so much. This is really cool.
Okay, I'll see you. Bye, everybody.